Well, that's right, because if you're giving them nothing, and it's basically whatever comes out of that mouth is a program, and
Yeah.
the judge is only there to judge the program. He's there to say, you've taken this fucking program, and that program, little Johnny, ain't your fucking program, and I'm going to fucking prosecute you. You're going to be prosecuted now by the prosecution, and I'm going to see what comes out of your fucking mouth, and you're going to defend yourself. It's the biggest setup. If anyone's ever seen Interstate 60, when he's in courthouse and he's got the dynamite ready to blow up the court, and he's going, this is the biggest fucking setup. It's a total setup against you, and yet you're the one promoting it. You're the one making it that way. It's no one else in the courthouse. They might be full of deceit and lies and all this bullshit. It's completely irrelevant. It's what you believe. Before all of that, if you know what a lie is, great. Now you're in possession of knowledge, right? You know the difference between good and evil. Now we can do commerce with you. Once we can do commerce with you, well, follow me. Now you get the bill and everything else that comes along.
Not sure what you mean.
Yeah, I like that movie Interstate 60 because, the part I like the best is, I just fuck with people.
Yeah, it's fuck, that's right. Hey, especially that hot fucking chick, mate.
No,
mate, I tell you what, wasn't that a hot fuck, huh?
Yeah. I like it.
Bit of head fucking's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy's are going into Christina.
What's that?
Oh, we're talking about headlights. We're putting in a Jeep right now. They're confused.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm at the point now where I just like fucking with them, and then maybe I'm testing myself at the same time to see if I can avoid the possessive terms and claims and just stick to questions. And what I find now too is it is a business in the sense you're going in there and doing business. And so you look at it like that, you can ask questions, and the questions, the way I'm seeing it now, it was always this way, but I'm just sort of cluing into it now, whether it's something or not. I'm going in there and I'm asking questions. And if I get a yes answer to my, if I get a yes to my, like as an answer to my question, I'll go on to the next one. And by the time I've got 4 or 5 or 6 yeses, to me, that's a good, solid contract. Now, let's start whatever's going on here, because I'm now just in contract with the judge. Verbally, it's written down. I've asked the questions. They've answered them. All right. How do we start this game? Please show me. And then see what happens from there. Now, I believe at that moment, you have the judge on your side, that prosecutor. He's going to have a hard time. Whatever it is, he's going to prove, which the prosecutor has to always prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They shouldn't win every time. They should lose. Like like you say, I would have said it's 98% they win around here. Maybe it's more, but like you say, they win a lot. So when I understood this, like you said, I understood this a while ago. I thought, I'm going to put a dent in their game. When I get this figured out, it ain't going to be. I'm going to have the 100% win, and they're going to have, you know what I mean? And it started to go that way. And I would then they wouldn't. So now they're at the point where they don't use any prosecutors around here or judges around here. They bring them from out of town.
Yeah. Well, that's look. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that, but to me, I don't ask them any question until they speak, and then when they speak, I listen to what they're saying. I don't actually ask them questions about, I'm not saying that you do or you don't. I don't know if I go into, is it a fair jurisdiction, or is it a fair, trial, or any of that sort of stuff.
It's not a jurisdiction thing. What it is it's an agreement thing. Like you said earlier, do we have agreement? Okay.
Yeah, but I asked that question. Yeah. All right. No, look, I hear what you're saying, and I think you may have played a little bit with the agreement question, because I asked that once in court
Well,
about agreement,
it's me,
and,
right?
and, and it's very, very powerful.
Oh, sure it is. Sure it is. That's
Yeah.
a good question. And that's why, I was grateful when you brought up a few extra, you reintroduced the idea of possession, which I think is very important, you
Yeah.
know. And we've been going at these, and we've had a lot of calls lately with Batman, and whatever way he is or isn't or whatever. I think we got off of some of these idea or these subjects that need to be re-brought up again and talked about and pointed out to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes.
And so
Um,
I'm for the calls, although may seem we don't agree, but deep down we do agree on the main points, I think. And
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm sad for your brother that you got to deal with that shit over there. It sounds brutal in the court, but
No,
I
yeah,
think
look, it is brutal, but you know what, brother, I'm not joking now. Listen, it is brutal. It's a prison continent, and it's definitely brutal. But you know what? I'll tell you something, man. When you see these, yeah, what do you call them? You could call them like troopers, and you don't have a fear of them. I tell you something, man. It's just, I don't know how to put it. It's another. Yes, it's a tough gig when you're going through it. Yes, and who can escape that hellfire? Right? It's pretty full on. Because there is a very strong regime down here in this part of the world,
yeah,
and if you are not on point, and if you do not consider every proposition with possession, you're going to go through the mince. You know, the mincer. It's
yeah,
just what's going to happen. And they listen for everything. They don't miss nothing. You understand what I'm saying? They
yeah.
don't miss nothing. And I'm
Maybe
telling you
because
what, mate,
the
there
sisters down there
is.
got harder heads.
What's that?
Maybe it's because the brothers and sisters down there got harder heads.
Well, I don't know. They're actually
You gotta
full of
hit
possession here in this part of the world, where people are unable to. I don't know. It's very hard to conceive this concept, possession down here. But
everyone wants
it,
to own
in,
something, you know.
yes,
It's,
it's
it's
very hard, and it's a very strange. It's a very strange phenomenon. This possession, and to ask it goes against the grain of all belief and all opinion.
yeah.
It goes against all things, and that's basically what one's up against is,
It controls all things too. It controls everything.
oh yeah, it's the
Every
primal forces. If you look
yeah,
at that thing, there's a movie there, I forget what it is. It says you're dealing with the primal force of nature.
yeah.
And people can't see it as a primal force of nature. You're going to be struck down. You're going to be destroyed, and it all comes back to the lovely possession. You can't escape it. Here in Australia, you got billboards. Everything you see is possession. Everywhere you go is possession. You go to jail, is possession. Everything's itemised in possession. It's astounding.
Well, nobody's well, not nobody, but rarely are people talking about this. Everybody's talking about the legal and this and
That's
that.
right.
They're
Yeah.
missing the main point. They want to bitch and complain about the legal, but they haven't yet got on the concept of possession and what is it you think you not only what you think you know, but what do you think you own?
Yeah.
What
There
do you
you go.
think you have or you got? What do
Yep.
you think, where'd you get this idea from? Now you have to
Yep.
sort of go to the parents and then the way things are, the bigger program in the world. Oh, when you get older, you're going to have to do your income tax and you're going to have to get your license and you have to go
Yep.
and get your degree and you're going to go buy your home.
Yeah.
These are all wonderful things. People like look forward to these things. Oh, I'm going to get to do this. I'm going to get to do that. I'm going to have this. I'm going to go have that. And it's a
Yeah.
serious
It's
malfunction in the
it's
program.
it's down here. They call it the prosecution. Down here, they say our biggest customer is the I call it the prime minister or the prime minister because everyone votes down here, and that's the biggest customer because they're all in possession. and business is booming in this part of the world, and that's why they need a government so that the people can vote and make their claim of possession. Right? The people want to vote for a man, and they want to be ruled by a man, so they get what they ask for, and
Yep.
at the same time, they're ruled by an iron fist. Like, I tell you something, if you were really here in this part of the world, and some people say, oh, Russia or some other countries are really tough, mate. Australia is probably the Chinese, when they start seeing how we went through all the lockdowns and everything, it'd make Kim Jong-un or bloody fucking the Russian president go, mate, these guys in Australia, how they run this country, it's an example for the rest of the world, mate. It's possession island, and if you can live and survive this part of the world, man, you'll be able to fucking live anywhere. That's how I see it. I want the most difficult fucking place on the planet, and where everything's gonna fuck you up. That's the place I want to live in. Why? Because I'm a fuck up completely. And if you're a fuck up, then, mate, you've got something to work with.
Okay.
Anyway, brother, I mean, it's not for everyone. Hey, most people like getting on their bikes and going for a ride. That's me too. I like going out for some fresh air. I love nature. But you know what? What's the use of nature when you're locked out of the park? Yeah, down here, I go to all the parks. Every park I go to all the parks where they're locked out. So that's where people are locked out of the park. They're the parks I go to. And the people they're not allowed to go into the park, but I go to those parks. They're the most beautiful parks, and where there's nature. But man are not able to enjoy those parks because, man, he making too many claims. The people make too many claims. Oh, this is our land, and this is, too many fucking claims that come out of the mouth. They've got to lock them down. Every time someone makes a claim, lock it down. Lock it down. Everything. Oh, mate, it's fucking great. While everyone's locked in their house, I'm out there enjoying a bloody nice, beautiful life.
Beautiful.
And going out there, kayaking, if one was to do such a thing, climbing the mountains, doing what we should all be doing, enjoying nature, being out there in the snow, being out there in the hot summer day, the icy freezing winters, the hot summer, on the bike, on the motorbike, whatever, just enjoying this bloody beautiful rock, enjoying the moment, enjoying what it's like to be in the world. But fuck, do you want to be of the world? Of the world is for ownership, possession. You want to take possession of this world, and if you discover it's not your fucking world, not even your thoughts, not even your body, well, that might be a rude awakening for most people to discover this reality. It's not an easy one to conceive. This idea of, fuck, you telling me I'm not my own? Holy shit, what does that fucking mean? Well, once you speak from I am, holy moly. Houston, we got a real fucking, this guy's going to follow the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Every claim has its drain. Off he goes. Next. And this is all because what? Hey, does one really want to find out? You really got to be, you really want to be on a suicide mission from hell doing this journey, especially down here. I call it a suicide mission, that you've got nothing left to lose. In other words, you're already dead. The most successful, the kamikaze, they're the ones who fucking, they're the ones, you're already dead before you go to battle, right? So if there was a battle, mate, I don't give a fuck what happens to me. They can burn me, bomb me, fucking whatever happens to me, who gives a shit? right? Do I believe, oh, this is going to happen to me, or that's going to happen to me? Who gives a shit what's going to happen to you? It's what it's what it's what builds character, and what happens after you go through what you go through. You know how it changes. It can change one. It can change how you think. Change the way you look at life. Change. Be the change you want to see inside yourself. And 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 start to how do I speak in a way where and I use the word if. Hang on. Why do I think if is a statement? As opposed to a question. Why do I think negatives or this is a normal way where it's an objection and it's this? The judge is showing me. Okay, I'm going to start to learn from the judge what he means by that and how he speaks. Like if I'm speaking in question, the judge is also he'll try to bamboozle you very quickly. But then I've seen judges once they start seeing your fruits, they start also speaking for you. Now that's when you go, this is Twilight Zone. This is very strange. And for a judge to start to speak on your behalf. Normally they're taking the charges. Normally they're putting a plea on your behalf, right? Because you're either making a claim and you're trying to avoid something, and then they now can do it on your behalf, right? Because you've already provided evidence of possession. And they can do whatever they fucking like with you. Primal forces of nature, boys and girls. It's a very exciting thing. Yeah. And also quite horrifying at the same time. Hey, it's an oxymoron, isn't it? Anyway. So there's maybe in the next, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or the next day, I might do a call where you get to hear one of the friends or one of the guys that are down here went to court, and he did a very good recording of the judge. So I'd like to share that on the screen if possible, and you'll be able to hear a little bit about how the judges down here work, how they operate. No different to where you boys are. I've been appreciating listening to some of the audio from as quite or subtle as they were from Dominion and that. They were very, very, very good to hear from the judge. And the judge is, oh mate, if you can survive the judge, holy shit, mate, that's a hell of a good start down here. You can survive the judge, yeah. Then you might be able to live out in the world. They might let you out and start doing what you like. I'll tell you something. This is how crazy it is down here. The other day I do a bit of like salvaging and recycling, like houses and stuff. Picking out timbers and wood from the houses, and I put it on a trailer, and it was very. It's very down here. If there's a slight amount over the trailer, it's illegal. And they see that as you're obviously everything's breaking the law down here, and so the coppers were right next to me. Now, what if I said to you, it was so obvious about this load as being completely over the top, and did they pull me over? Fuck no, not at all. So this is what we're talking about, boys and girls, is when you start to be an example of you're doing, they're watching you, okay, he's safe. He's not doing danger or anything. But okay, it might, they leave you alone. They leave they leave you they leave you alone where they don't pull you over all the time. In a sense, unless you're really speeding, sometimes like I do. I like them sometimes to chase me. I don't know about but they go, okay, it's game on, boys, let's go. Anyway, it's once they start to know you down here, it's it's a lot of fun, and they do leave you alone, yeah, and it's not that bad. It's not that bad once they start to know you, which they do know me. They leave you alone. They don't mess with you, and that's really the best outcome one can possibly come to. Is that they leave you alone, but unfortunately, it can take a long time for that to happen. In other words, you really need to show them your fruits. They don't just on this occasion they let you go. No, mate, they need to see. They need to see you go through quite a bit. This is the tribulation or the if it's written in the scripture, it talks about the difficult times. Well, if there was, many stories, even Job, what he went through. Holy shit. Big fucking boils on the body, lost the fucking family, lost all the property, lost fucking everything. And then everything, was reinstated back to him. Imagine what those stories in the scripture. Now, I know they're stories. Rather than to preach them, let's see if any of this is true. So that's what I look at the scripture, not as some preaching book to go, this is a book and this is what happened in this fucking story and that's what happened in that story. Mate, that's all fucking bullshit unless you're living it. So if you go, okay, if there's a message in there, how am I going to do it? How am I going to demonstrate this? What am I going to do? And that's where the journey started. And I'd like someone on this call to find the scripture where, if there was something in the scripture that I'd like to look at, because this is really what happens in court down here. It's the scripture where allegedly Jesus is on top of the mountain before the devil, and the devil is offering all the kingdoms of this world, if only you do an act of worship before him. And you will have all the kingdoms. That is the role of what the judge does in the court, is basically getting you to do an act of worship. And that's basically where the act of worship is done under oath in the courthouse. And once they see act of worship, then they know who then they know this day who one is serving and and whose God they kneel before. And that's pretty much how. I know it sounds completely strange and bizarre concept, but does the court have a Bible? I'm very much interested in seeing what is it exactly the function of the judge, and when he's asking these questions, what do you want to do with the charges? Well, has anyone considered what do you want? What do you mean by want? Because want is fucking desire, is possession, to take. Yeah, once you start breaking all these up in sets, the want, the desire, and to take, and all this, you'd be going, what do you mean by want? And they have to always rephrase the question. Judges always say he needs you to understand what the judge is saying. Once you understand what the judge is saying, then we got some business together. It's that simple. And then when you make a plea, then you're showing the judge that you've taken the offer of all the kingdoms of this world. You've taken the offer of the kingdom of this world that I've just offered you, and you've taken the kingdom of this world, and because you've just done an act of worship now before me, right? Now we can proceed. It's that crazy that imagine these stories in the fucking scripture. There are some particular scriptures that are so profound that down here they work 1000%. It's right before your eyes. And I'll give you an example if I can give first-hand experience. So what does that mean, that scripture? Do an act of worship. Okay, I'll give you an example if anyone wants to hear it. And I don't know if anyone is hearing it because I certainly haven't heard anyone much other than the brother Darren. But anyway, so here's an example. So the judge is going to keep you in court all fucking day, right? Because he already knows you. He's met you in the morning and you've already asked him a couple of questions. So the judge is going to sit you there and he's going to get you to watch how the court works and he's going to get you to basically take possession pretty much, right? So he's going to then call you in at the end of the day and then he's going to go, now, did you see what I did to all those people before you? Did you see what I did? And he'll go, what I did is these people, all their fines were reduced. He will tell you straight out. He said, I let this guy, he could have gone to prison, but I didn't put him in prison today. Now, he won't put him in prison today. Why? Because he knows he's going to put him in prison next time. But today, he let them go, right? He let them go. So he's showing you, this is how it is down here. He's showing you how lenient we are as your masters. We're lenient on you. I'm lenient on you. In fact, I'm so lenient on you, right? All you got to do is do the same. You got to do the same, right? You got to just bend your knee and fucking do a bit of worshipping. Do a bit of worship for me. As soon as you worship, once you do a little bit of worship, beautiful. You're back in the arena, right? That's all we want. If you do not do this act of worship, we're going to threaten you. We're going to fucking throw you in jail. We're going to fucking do this. We're going to fucking do that. And you're going to get scared. You're going to get scared. As soon as you get scared, good. That's what we want. The game is fear. We need you to be fearful. So that's all it is, boys and girls. It's basically, it's the Wizard of Oz and the little man in the big tower screaming out all the scary stories of everything, being fearful, and for you to be in fear, and then you discover it's just a little man with a man with a big voice, and that's it. And the judge, his role is to basically whatever you bring up, he's gonna twist it into fucking twisted metal. He's gonna twist it back, and it's gonna head fuck you, and you're not gonna wonder what's going on. But they do. They're masters at it. Masters at it. That's why I love them because they're there to fuck you up good, real good. Now, why would you love someone who's going to fuck you up real good? Well, for starters, if I'm already fucked up, the only way to get real fucked up is to do a good job of it. And the judges, they just do a good job of it. You got to admire the masters of the universe. That's how I see it. It's fucked up. Yes, I agree. It's a strange, bizarre way of looking at things. But once you move past all of that, and then you start seeing what are they doing? Well, what do you wish to do with the charges today? That's also part of the scripture there. There's a scripture. It says, "Let thy will be done," as opposed to your will be done. So your is the possessor. Allegedly there was a scripture, and if one can find these, there's a few little scriptures that are absolute gold. Let it be your will be done as opposed to my will, if I own such a thing, because my will is not my will, it's the Father's will. I don't go by my will. I go by the will of the Father, because the Father knows best. And that's why the fathers of this world, they basically are put into the rubbish bin, right? Because who listens to the Father? Nobody wants to listen to a father, right? How am I the Father if you never listen to me? Yeah. So if we meditate on the question, and how do I do this, right? what is impossible could be possible, but through the meditation of the designer of all these things, yeah, through the proper question. Anyway, I do go on.
Luke 22:42 is that thy will instead of my will.
There you go. That's all about court, boys and girls. And if we can put together a bit of some key scriptures that align itself with court, that's what we're talking about. That scripture, as well as the other scripture, which is allegedly Jesus on top of the mountain, being offered all the kingdoms of the world. Now that's the judge, right? Offering you an offer too good to refuse, and what are you going to do about it? So that's another very, very powerful scripture. And look, these might be completely, I don't know what irrelevant or bullshit. But unless you've gone down the road of what say firsthand what I've gone through, and if it's true, all things come to be known inside ourselves. All things will be shown. So if it's true, will it be shown? Will these things be shown? And if I said to you that all things, the promises of the Father, all come true, all these promises, there's not one thing that has been denied or bullshit when it comes to these messages in the scripture. It's that's where, if there was something to meditate on, is that on an everyday basis. Anyway, that's something to consider, boys, on this journey.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful.
Anyway, Darren, I love you, bro. And look, I think it's good that, you know, whether there's little squabbles and bullshit between one another, that ultimately it's, look, this is what I wanted to really put across, was like what you were saying before about possession. Really put it back in the front line again, because 20 years ago or 15 years ago with the bats and that, we were talking this shit back then. But applying it, well, that was a different story. We are applying it now. If I said I'm putting it, we put the rubber to the road, and the rubber to the road is smoking, and that is where we are able to demonstrate the effects of asking these questions. What do you mean by have? You have a right to an attorney. You have a right to make a phone call to your parents and family or whatever it is. What the fruitcake do you mean by have? Get out of your car. What do you mean by get? You got a lawyer? What do you mean by got? Is this yours? What do you mean by your? Everything goes back to 0 point when you ask those questions. It's a reduction of intelligence. And it's like, Houston, there's a dumbass here asking these questions, and we are unable to proceed because these questions are a hindrance to commerce, a hindrance. We are unable to proceed forward because these questions are a pain in the legion's asshole, if there's such a thing.
Could it be no meeting of the minds?
Well, this is another scripture, boys and girls. I'm glad you've asked that. I don't know what the scripture is, but it says, never shall the two meet. When you're asking these questions, it's like the owners that are in possession. It confounds them, this possession stuff, because why it confounds them? Because never the two shall meet, because you're always asking What do you mean by have? What do you mean by your? And there cannot possibly be an agreement between an owner and one who is basically considering the possessor of all things. And that's the if there was the original program, the original agreement, the original whatever you want to call it, all comes back to that. That all comes back to that point of the scripture, the Bible is or whatever you want to call it. I call it the book of the covenant. It's the covenant between man and the Maker. And man decided he knows better, and that he started taking from the tree of possession, the tree of knowledge, and he become his own. And now he's gone astray, and the world has gone in peril. So this is the result of man agreeing to his own doctrines. The man who agrees with his own doctrines agrees with the wooden idols of this world. And the wooden idols of this world is all about the doctrine, the belief, the opinions of man, and to appease one another. Be agreeable. Yes, just to agree with thine adversary doesn't mean, oh, I agree with you. You see, it's like Little Red Riding Hood. Don't talk to strangers, right? Okay, that's a statement. So what the fuck does that mean? Don't talk to strangers. Fuck. Do I know you? There you go. Now it's complete. The statement is now complete. Why? Is there a question in there? Don't talk to strangers. Do I know you? And that applies with every statement. Every statement. If we do not exercise the question in every statement, jurisdiction applies. Now you need an exorcism, because being in possession. If I'm in possession, now you open yourself up for an exorcism, and that's what the prosecution are there for. To do an exorcism on you and being in possession. Sounds fair enough, doesn't it? Anyone there?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very strange concept, isn't it? This exorcism.
Are you familiar with John 19:11? I think it is. Yeah. John 19:11. Yeah, John 19:11. Can I say it?
Yeah, put it on the chat, bro. No problem.
Jesus answered. I mentioned this previously with a couple other guys, so I might be. You could have no power at all against me unless it had been given you from above. Therefore, the one who delivered me to you has the greater sin.
Yeah.
It
Now-
seems like it's pertinent, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Right
Listen,
on, Tony. Right on, Tony. That's awesome.
What's that, buddy?
Awesome.
if I hear that scripture,
That was King James Version, by the way.
yeah, no, that's a good one to start with. If I was to sort of look at that scripture, down here there's the coppers. They on their logo is uphold the right. So what they means is we are the ones in possession of what is right and wrong, good or bad, and we are here to uphold the right, which is basically we're carrying the burden. Yeah. So we are the ones who carry the burden, and that's why the liability question doesn't work with the agents. And I remember speaking with Batman for years about this, about the liability, because they're already liable. They're carrying the burden of possession, right? They're bringing a claiming you've made a claim and all this, or you made a claim of possession. So there's a hell of a burden these guys are going around in what they do. So the only thing that works, and this has only come in the last couple of years is the power of this agreement, and that's why agreement only works instead of asking, these liability questions, because the liability is the burden, right? And yes, they already uphold the burden, the right of carrying these charges, these burdens to the people, and the people are the ones that believe these charges, these terms, these words. They are the ones who have taken these words for themselves, and they have gone into the belief of such things. So if that scripture relates in any way to Legion, is they are the ones that are let loose upon this world to seek out and destroy the individuals, just anyone who believes they're an owner, and someone can be accused for anything, and someone goes in and justifies themselves, and then it may not even be about the individual, maybe a complete false claim about this, that, and the other, but doesn't matter. Once you start engaging and you start making claims about that you're the owner and you're this, one way or another you're going to get blown away, and that's basically it. You'll just so happen to be lucky there at that moment to get blown away and get interrogated and start asking and start answering. Sorry, most people answer the questions. When you're answering the questions, you're going into responding mode, instead of going into as king, asking. And that's pretty much.
If you're answering the questions, that's kind of like you're negotiating, right?
Once you answer, it's jurisdiction.
Right. But I'm
Once
saying
you
you're
answer,
like kind of like trying to come to you're involved in the contractual, act.
You're involved in the program. You're part of the program. In other words, the program has indoctrinated you. The program, you're speaking out of the mouth through answer. The program verifies that you're in the program through an answer. So by answering, it verifies the program is alive and well, and that he's actually there's a monologue going on between himself and the doctrine, which is a meeting of the minds. So the meeting of the minds can actually be between yourself and the doctrine in front of you, and there can be no one else around you. This is how insane it is, boys and girls. How do I know that? Well, where do you think I learned it from? Could it be? I'll use the word. Could it be the judge? How funny is that, huh? Meeting of the minds. Is that in accord with your thinking? This is how they speak down here with the judges. Is that in accord with your thinking? In other words, you've got an agreement with the thinking, right? And that piece of paper, right? Did you bring all thoughts into subjection back to the maker, back to the possessor? No, you're still spewing it out of your mouth. You didn't consider. What do you know about these terms, these words? I mean, if anyone's studying the so-called scripture, right? How does one know what an interpretation of any word is if these words are the property? What is it? The word is with the possessor, or with whatever one wants to call it. The word is with God. The word was God, and the word was always God's, or whatever. So, if that's true, if the word is with the possessor, then what am I doing in possession? In other words, what do I know about interpretation of these words? What do I know about the understanding of these terms? And in court, it's all about interpretation and meaning. Once there's meaning to a word, you've already interpreted. It's that simple. And now that you're in possession of terminology, and the judge will say down here, using your terminology. In other words, you're in possession. Whether you bring up a claim, you bring up an adversary, even if you bring up an agreement. if you bring up anything, right? unless it's in a question, right? And I'm talking an on-point question. You're going into terminology, and that's the biggest head fuck of all. How do you unfuck yourself from the program, boys and girls? It ain't easy. It ain't easy. That's for sure. That is this interpretation business. Oh boy, it's you think you know something. All comes back to, oh yeah, you fucking interpreted something, and that's probably what the hardest thing for any of these gurus out there or any people who think they know shit is all comes back to the interpretation. There's a lot of stories in so-called in the book of the covenant or the scripture, whatever you want to call it, where the kings would say, "Oh, come and interpret my dreams." And there was one who didn't interpret the king's dreams, or asked him the question, "Whose dreams are they for one to interpret?" You know what I mean? And the king couldn't chop his head off. But everyone who fucking was a soothsayer, or anyone who came there with the imaginings of what his dreams were, their head was removed from the shoulders, because it's like, who are you to interpret? Interpret any word. This is down here. This is called property. And this is the lethal weapon of property is in the mouth of man. It's weaponized. And once you are weaponized with property, mine, or I now identify with these words, terms, right? I'm now subject for whether it's prosecution or the informants to read out the Firearms Act, because what comes out of the mouth is a lethal cocktail of technology that ain't yours. It's a technology you're using that is causing injury, harm, and loss, and that's called liability. Okay, so when you open a door to an agent and you start speaking in my terms, my this, and you're speaking from the program, you're going to be subject to the program because you're inside the program, the matrix, the technology. There's many ways of communicating the same thing, same but different. So that's a real head fuck. This interpretation business, using your terminology. Fuck, you want to bring up terminology? Yeah. Now we're going to adjourn it, and we're going to discuss this next time you come into court, and then we'll throw you into fucking jail because you're gonna spew out more terminology out of that pie hole. So the more you fucking talk, the more you're going to be in the shit. Anything else?
I have an arrest warrant that I'll upload to you very soon, brother. Maybe we could go over that at some point.
Yeah. Do I have an arrest warrant? If I had hey, I'll help you rephrase it. So I have an arrest warrant. Now, just that terminology, I have an arrest warrant. That's just this is just how I'm meditating on that. It's just there's a you can just neutralize this, bring it back to if there's something I can share, there's an arrest warrant, for a name or whatever, and instead of I have, maybe just start slowly changing the mind from I have to, if I can pass it on to you boys, there's an arrest warrant for the name. I'd love to pass it on and share with the boys so we all can unlearn from it. Something to consider, boys and girls, if there's any on there. I'd love to go through it with you, Dominion. if that was you talking.
Right on, brother. Spent 2 days in jail a few days ago for contempt. I asked the judge. I asked the judge a few questions, and he said, "Don't say another word. Sit over there." And the sheriff, he said, "If you say another word, I'll hold you in contempt."
Yep.
And I never said another word for the end of the trial. And he stood up and he said, "Here's your contempt. Do you have anything to say?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you say if I said another word?" He said, "No, I don't remember saying that." And so I spent 2 days in jail because he lied about what he said. I mean, what I said led to it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's funny how he said, "If you," and then he said, "Nah, I never said that." I
You
said, "Is it
see,
recorded? Can we listen to it? Can we listen to it back?" And he just walked away.
just know one thing. If we're trying to educate the very system that educated you, and we're trying to tell the system, the very system that told you, right? The system will never, ever answer you, right? Oh, they'll give you answers, but they'll give you answers where you start answering, all right? So it's what are they doing? I'm not doing. All right, they give me a question. They give me an answer, right? Now, when you said, what did you say? He said, take a seat, sit back, or something. He said,
He said, "Go sit over there. If you say another word, I'll hold you in contempt."
I'll hold you in contempt. Yeah, that happened to me on a few occasions. I said, "What's that?"
I said that later when he brought up contempt. I said, "What do you mean by contempt?" And he said,
No. Hang on. This is another one, brothers. This is. Now they bring up terminology, and there's only one thing you do. You never repeat after them, because what's happening is what's on their tongue is now contagious on the tongue that you're using. So when you bring up the term contempt, you're now in knowledge of it. Now it's spread like a virus to you. So it's coming out of their tongue. You're in contempt, and you're going, "What do you mean by contempt?" Right? Yes, it's a good start, but just know that. What do you mean by that? That is when this guy's he's more of a dumbass. In other words, he's not bringing up the term contempt. I go, "What do you mean by that? What's that? What is that supposed to mean?" And then they get upset because it's like they've got to educate you, and they don't like that, because your teachers, they should have done a better job. The teachers are the ones who have done a good job on you.
Reduction of intelligence.
Yes, by you asking those questions, and everything encompasses that. THAT is one of the most powerful things you can ever use in court. Is THAT, and also THE. They're about the best words you can ever, because you're not repeating after them their terminology, their words. No, it's not contagious onto you. Once you take their word, it's contagious, and now you're liable. Once you've taken the contagion, you're now liable. You're liable now for that for what they're saying. That's why they'll throw you in jail, right? Because you've taken it. It's so hard to see this. You've taken something. It's so hard. Once you've been in the matrix, this program, it's like everything you do, everything you say, you just fucked at every corner. It's like, this is fucked, right? How the fuck do you unfuck yourself? Like, it's a little unfair. It seems that way. But now we've all grown up, and we've had such a good life, in a sense of, oh, nothing's happened to me. And now life starts crunch time, and things aren't easy. Things are tough. Every week I'm getting an infringement notice, or I'm getting a summons to court, or I'm getting pulled over by the coppers. I'm going, what the fuck is this? What's going on? I can't even fucking shit or fart or walk out of the door without someone bringing me notice to something. You know what I mean? It's like, where does it end? How do I scratch my ass without getting a notice for it? This is how it is down here. I sneeze, here's your bill. If I do this, here's your bill. If I do that, here's your bill. That's it. That's it. This is the reality down here. How do you want to change it? Start dealing with the fucking the how we speak. and I'm still yet to meet or find anyone who is prepared to change the way one is speaking out of that mouth. One of the hardest things to change. It's the rudder. It's like, you know, just to change, you know, to tame the tongue doesn't seem to be that easy. I'd love that recording, by the way, Dominion. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear. You know, I would love to hear it. Yeah. Anyone there?
Yeah, we're here. I am.
No, it's good.
I've heard people go in court and say, do we have a where's the contract?